Have you ever felt like this? You work so hard and finally obtain the happiness you were chasing, yet somehow your heart still can't find rest. Day after day, we keep running after visible forms of wealth. If only I had more money. If only I had a more secure position. But strangely, once we finally obtain those things, we begin to fear losing them. We become tense, competing with others, and sometimes even create distance within our own families. In fact, the very things we grasp with our own wisdom, believing this is what will bless me, can end up making our lives heavy and even destroying what matters most. Today, through the story of Abram, known as the father of faith in the Bible, let us explore together the trap of success that we often fall into and the way out, the path to true freedom. Our story begins as Abram returns to the promised land after fleeing to Egypt because of a famine. In Egypt, Abram did not act honorably. To protect himself, he deceived Pharaoh by saying that his wife Sarai was his sister. As a result, he received a great amount of livestock and servants from Pharaoh. The Bible describes Abram's condition like this. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. Previously, Abram fled to Egypt because the famine was severe. Now he returns, weighed down by his possessions, unable to move freely. At first glance, it looks like a great success, turning disaster into blessing. However, this prosperity, gained not through prayer, but through his own human wisdom, soon leads to trouble. Abram's nephew Lot, who traveled with him, had also accumulated great wealth. Soon, conflict broke out between their herdsmen over limited pasture and water. They thought wealth would bring happiness, but instead, it brought ugly conflict within the family. Meanwhile, the Canaanites were living in the land. Abram, who claimed to believe in God, was now displaying strife among his own people before others. Because of the very possessions he tried to protect, he was on the verge of losing what mattered most: peace and his witness. Faced with this crisis, Abram made a decisive choice. He said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are relatives. If you go to the left, I will go to the right, or if you go to the right, I will go to the left." Here, Abram gave up his rights and allowed Lot to choose first. Lot lifted up his eyes and saw the plain of the Jordan. It was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. It looked rich and full of life. If I go there, I will prosper even more. Guided by what looked good and by his own desires, Lot chose that land without hesitation and separated from Abram. But the place Lot chose was in the direction of Sodom, which would later be destroyed. In seeking the visible pool of water, he left behind the spring that never runs dry, his connection with God. Meanwhile, what remained with Abram was a rugged, barren land full of rocks, unattractive to anyone. Lot, whom he may have considered his heir, was gone. The desirable land was gone. It seemed as if, in trying to build his life through his own wisdom, Abram had lost everything. Yet, at that very moment, when Abram was left alone, his shoulders heavy, God, who had been silent, spoke to him. While Abram had been relying on his own wisdom in Egypt, God had not spoken to him at all. As long as he clung to heavy possessions, the voice of God did not reach him. Then the Lord said, "Lift up your eyes from where you are, and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see, I will give to you and to your offspring forever." At the very moment Abram opened his hands and released what he called his, giving it to Lot, God poured out true blessing upon him. All the land that you see, this promise far exceeded anything Abram could have gained through his own calculations. Abram believed the word of the Lord, built an altar again, and worshipped God. From that point, his true walk of faith began anew. Isn't this the same in our lives? When we cling to something, thinking, I can't live without this, or if I lose this, it's over, our eyes turn downward and our hearts lose peace. But what God asks of us is not to protect temporary visible wealth, but to trust His invisible promises and lift up our eyes. God also told Abram, "Arise, walk through the land." This was an encouragement, not to cling to one place and accumulate, but to step forward freely, trusting that God is with you wherever you go. By losing Lot, his only apparent hope, Abram ironically regained a one-on-one relationship with God. Later, through his wife Sarai, who had been barren, God gave him Isaac, a miraculous heir beyond imagination. If you are now feeling, I have lost something important, or compared to others, I have nothing, that may actually be your opportunity. God may be trying to speak to you. Why not place before God the burden you are desperately holding on to? Stop trying to calculate everything with human wisdom and pray, God, I place this in your hands. When we let go, God's mighty hand can finally move in our lives. From God's side, He is always reaching out to be involved in your life. The answer is not in your effort, but in His promises. So lift up your eyes. The very wilderness where you now stand is actually filled with God's blessing. Will you believe that and take a step forward once again? What is something you are holding on to right now? Something you are afraid to let go of? Would you take just one thing you are clinging to, something you think, if only I have this, and return it to God in prayer today? I believe a new peace will come into your heart. If this message spoke to you, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps support this ministry. May God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next message.